latest Manchester United transfer news and chat, as per usual. And we're going to fly into what is like, well, we're talking about Tahith Chong wanting to leave Manchester United. We're also going to be talking about an interesting thing on Anthony Martial, a little bit about Harry Maguire, transfers as well, and how United's season actually doesn't actually transpire to potentially be that bad when you look at some interesting facts and figures. However, we're going to start off with Scott McTominay and what is potentially a really, really big blow. Scott McTominay could be out for 4 weeks. He's had the scan yesterday, and the initial scan, has been reported by a number of outlets, is that the severity of the injury looks like he'll be out for 4 weeks, which would mean he would miss, off the top of my head, he would miss Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Spurs and Manchester City games. But there is going to be another scan in the next 72 hours because it is very swollen. So that could mean it's worse. It could also mean with less swelling it might be a little bit better. But it is a blow, and it's not something... I'm not actually going to moan and say, oh, look at this, injuries. But I think the problem with McTominay and Fred and Harry Maguire... I mean, Gareth Southgate has also said about Harry Maguire that he might rest him over the international break. It's not Gareth Southgate's responsibility to be resting England players. But this was something else that I read, that Gareth Southgate is really worried about Harry Maguire getting burnout from the amount of games he's been playing, so he might rest him for one of the England games. How ridiculous is that? England manager looking to rest a player that he only gets once or twice every few months. But, this is the problem, Manchester United. I think Ollie's been... running scared. I've said this. I'm not going to be a hypocrite about this. I think Ollie has been doing this to keep his job. I understand why he's been doing it. I think he's been picking strong squads because the stronger your squad is, the less risk you take, the more chance you're going to get results. And it's worked for him. But I think that we have been running on empty with a lot of our players. And Scott McTominay, I think he from Norwich to what happened? Norwich to Chelsea to Bournemouth to Partizan to Brighton. That's 5 games in just over 2 weeks, and he played in all of them. And the same with Fred and Maguire. I think played all of those as well. So it's not that I don't think McTominay's injuries rolled his ankle. That's nothing to do with the amount of games he's played. But if you keep playing them, there's more chances they're going to get injured. It's not just about. They are going to pick up injuries from muscle strains and everything like that, from fatigue, but also the more you play them, the more chance they're going to get injured. And I think this goes back to what's been spoken about on the Flex and Rant show, what I was talking about last night, the midfield issues. But how and what do we do with this? Because Paul Pogba has had his cast off. We were talking about this last night, but he will not be back for Sheffield United and he might not be back for Villa. So if you haven't got Pogba and you haven't got McTominay, what are we going to do? Are we going to bring... Do we want to play Matic? I mean, realistically, it would be Garner and Fred for me. And I know that weakens us, but... could we not just be a bit creative with that weakness and say, look, we're having to play a young teenager in the midfield? I think if you put Matic in there, what's the excuse then? Matic is awful, and if we lose those games or drop points in those games, I think, I personally would go with Garner. But look, it's a big thing. To be honest, if you said to me a year ago we're going to have a title for a show on an 8 o'clock show, McTominay injury blow, I'd say you're having a bloody laugh, because I didn't really think much of McTominay a year ago. But it's a testament to what he's done over the last year, and certainly over this season. McTominay, he's not the finished article yet. And look, as I said, is he a Manchester United midfielder or is he just an Everton midfielder? Because we don't know how good United are to gauge how good our players are. But we're going to miss him. And I would say, if I had a choice between Fred or McTominay getting an injury, it probably would be still Fred. Because I think McTominay is very important to United. So it's just typical of our season. I think a lot of things have been self-inflicted. The poor tactics, the bad results. But sometimes in a season you do just get bad luck, and I think with McTominay it is bad luck. I don't think it was bad luck with Pogba. We played him with an injury and he ended up with a bigger injury. But I think with McTominay, unless he did have an injury on that ankle, and there was talk of an injury on that ankle, maybe there is something in that, because he definitely had a knock on his ankle at the end of the Partizan game on Thursday, and if that's the same ankle on Sunday, then it's self-inflicted by the club, isn't it? But maybe we've got to take those risks. It says a lot when Ollie has thought about his own skin in October, November and not looking at the bigger picture. Can you imagine the potential long-term injuries in December and January if we continue like this, says Humi. I think it's interesting. I mean, I wasn't going to talk about that, but I think it is quite interesting for United, because I agree with that comment. And I know it's a bit of people will moan about it, but I do agree with that comment. I think my theory, and it's only a theory, is that we were a pragmatic team under Mourinho, and Mourinho's not got off the hook. Mourinho's about to get absolutely done in a few minutes. Get the oven on, because it's really easy to show that under Jose Mourinho we didn't run around as much, and Ollie said that himself. And I think he wanted an energetic team, but I don't think these players are used to it. You know, even under Van Gaal we didn't cover a lot of distance, so I don't think these players are used to it. And I think what's happened is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got them back. And remember, I've said this a few times, he said even though they're on holiday, it's not an excuse to go and drink pina coladas and have hot dogs. You know, he wants them to keep a level of fitness, which is why we had all those stupid videos coming out, didn't we, in mid-June of Rashford and Luke Shaw and everybody doing their fitness work, and McTominay. So, and then we went on tour, and I think he's beasted them. I think he's absolutely beasted them, Ollie. I think he's absolutely beasted them on fitness work to try and get their fitness levels up. Then we've gone into the season, and we haven't even seen the bounce of that fitness work. I think what we saw is a tired team, because I've not seen United. We've been terrible in the second half. So if we were so fit, we'd be better in the second half, but we've been worse in the second half of games. So I think Brighton was the only second half we really saw some energy. Every other second half, we've been really poor. So I think that these players are tired. I think that on top of the tiredness they've got from the pre-season, where a lot of them have picked up knocks, I think we're now seeing those players that didn't pick up knocks from pre-season now picking up knocks during the season because they're playing all the time. So I would agree with Humi. I think we're going to pick up a lot of injuries this season. I don't think we're going to get to a point where everybody's back, which is interesting because if you think about who's to come back, Pogba, Matic, Dalot, Luke Shaw, Twansebi, there's somebody else I've missed out, but there's 5 or 6 players to come back, and if they all come back gradually through December, you know what Ed Woodward's going to be doing with his wallet? Lock that away till the summer. We don't need anybody. That line will come out. It's like having 5 new signings. I'll guarantee. Should we have a little bit of a bet, a gentleman's bet? We won't do it for money. We'll just do it as a United stand bet, an IOU. I bet that line will come out from Manchester United at some point between now and January. It's like having 5 new signings. Fosu Mensah as well is back. It's like having 5 new signings, which is all being planted that we're not going to sign in January. And obviously, I'm not a big fan of signing in January, but we are desperate. I don't think you can sign in January good players, but we are desperate, I would say that. Deepak Sudi Kanamani says, Mark, this might be a blessing in disguise. If not Matic, Ollie would go with Fred sitting and Pereira and Lingard as box-to-box. 4-3-3 that fans... Oh my God. That gives me bloody nightmares. Poor Fred. Poor Fred in that scenario. Imagine that. Fred having to sit with McTominay and Pereira as the box-to-box. How low do we want to go in this league? Lingard as a box-to-box midfielder. God, I mean, look, Lingard is Lingard, but when it comes to physicality, this is a guy who goes in the shower and doesn't get wet. So Lingard as a box-to-box midfielder terrifies me, to be honest with you. Jake McGreedy says, Mark, why does society have a pop at short people like Sterling? If they fight their own corner, they have a Napoleon complex. 6-footers have life so easy. I mean, look, let's just touch on that very, very quickly because it's nothing to do with Manchester United, but obviously Raheem Sterling has been dropped by the England squad. I did a video on it on That's Football this morning, and I've already expressed my opinion, but some of you might not have seen that video. I actually thought the way Joe Gomez in the Liverpool game more or less picked Raheem Sterling up was a bit naughty because, you know, it was a sizist thing. That's my thought on that. And you can understand why Raheem Sterling reacted the way he did and said, don't be doing that. Whatever's gone on behind closed doors, we don't know, but Raheem Sterling has been dropped for whatever happened yesterday. But I actually defended Sterling on this point, and I wish we saw more of this from Manchester United players. If Manchester City played Liverpool on Sunday, there was an argument between Sterling and Gomez. 24 hours later, they're on England duty, and they've had another argument. What I like about that is that they've taken, or Sterling, let's say, has taken that frustration and anger into the England squad and still gone at Joe Gomez about it. And I think, that's brilliant. He's lost the game of football with Man City. And we level a lot of things at Man City. They're mercenaries, their players are only there for money. And then you've got Raheem Sterling, who's still so wound up about that game. He's going on about it. And to me, I just think it shows he cares. It shows his passion. And I don't think we see enough of that from the modern game. I mean, what do we see from Manchester United players when they lose games? They get on Twitter, or they tell somebody who runs their Twitter to just say, can you just do it in 2 sentences? 2 sentences, basically, a picture of me, and we go again. And that's all we see from United. Mata's vlog was like that for weeks. It's just, we go again. It hurts, we'll go again. But, actual passion. I mean, we saw it with Brendan Williams on the weekend. McTominay's done it a little bit. You know, when there's a bit of a tasty tackle and there's a bit of shoving and everything like that. Love it, absolutely love it, because it shows that they actually care. So yeah, I'd actually thought that with regards to Sterling, yeah, I quite liked it. I quite liked it, to be honest with you. Sterling did Gomez deserved it. An Ultra 67 says, I've got the black and the red. United stands tops. That Stone Roses one. United we stand one as well. Wicked clothing. Thanks, Ultra 67. I don't think I've got the link in the video description, but cheers for getting the t-shirts. Passion Mark says Flicks 47. And have you watched the 50 Shades of Grey? No. Weird comments tonight. It's the international break does this to people. It's like going cold turkey. And Who says, Chong, okay, yeah, decent youngster. Will I lose sleep over him leaving? No, I will take the risk. He's not taking his chance for me, unfortunately. Great. He's moved me on to the next topic. So, Tahith Chong, this is coming from Italy, that Tahith Chong will not sign a new contract at Manchester United and will leave for free in the summer. He's out of contract this summer coming, and Tahith Chong is looking at going to Juventus on a free. Another Pogba, some might say. What I would say is that Pogba was a lot more thought of than Chong. A lot of us will still be old enough to remember Pogba coming through the youth system. He looked like... I think I remember Pogba playing in a game against Stoke at home. I think it was Stoke or Sunderland. And he was amazing. And we let him go to Juventus. And that was because of his greedy agent. And we had Sir Alex Ferguson in charge at the time. And he made a stand. And Pogba decided he wanted to go. And you know what? Sir Alex wanted to keep him. It was about his agent. With Chong, it's a little bit interesting. Let me just read this. Kevin Back says, according to the Daily Mail, well, that's the end of that, Woodward is in talks with Ronaldo to come back to United. Thoughts on that, Mark? I'd take Ronaldo back. I would take Ronaldo back, because I think if you take Gareth Bale, you'd take Cristiano Ronaldo. I would take Ronaldo back. It's totally romantic, but you only live once. Of course I would. But going back to Tahith Chong, I think Chong gets a lot of stick. I've seen people today saying things like Chong didn't take his chance like Williams and Greenwood did. But you can't, life's not black and white, it's grey and everything else in between. It's, that's the world we live in. We don't have those extremes. You've got to live in the middle and give different things. And I think with Tahith Chong and with Angel Gomez and with any of these young players, Garner didn't play particularly well when he came on last time against Chelsea, did he? Or there was a game he came on for about half an hour and he was very, very quiet. Does that mean he's had his chance? Chong's not had many chances in the first team, and he's not actually played that badly. Remember on the pre-season tour, he put that cross in, he nearly scored a cracking goal himself. There is a player in Chong, and the thing about Chong is that I'm a bit defensive of him because he's the player that I've always gone on about, because I like that sort of player. I like that winger, that flair player, and Chong. I think the way that Chong plays on the ball, he does remind me of a really good winger. The way he can glide off it. His problem is his physicality. What Chong needed to do to keep Chong happy was first team football this year, and what he clearly needed was championship football. He should have been loaned out. This is down to Ollie and the fact that he let Lukaku go and he let Sanchez go, and he needed some depth. But his depth is a player that's just not ready to play Premier League football. And yeah, I think he's about 20 now, but that's by the by. Scott McTominay's 22. He's going to be 23 in December. You can be a young 22, 23. I think McTominay's still got growth in him. So, of course, Tahith Chong is. I wouldn't be surprised if Chong went off to Italy and ended up being a really good player. I would not be surprised. I actually think there's a good player in him. And I think that people are writing him off way too soon. And I've said it to Rance. Rance was like, get rid of him, he's rubbish, whatever. But I think, he's hardly played any games. And I think United want him to sign a new contract. And I think he wants to go because he's not been given the game time. He's not been on the bench recently. So look, you've got to trust the manager's judgment. Of course you have, but I'm not in the majority on this one. I don't think, he's total crap, let's get rid of him. He's a young lad. He's not completed his development, and I think there's a good player in there. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's not looking like he's going to be a player at United. Give Chong a chance. He's a future star, says Justin Blackman. We need Chong to stay, says Adam Solomon. Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic, says David Garrett. And he looked like a headless chicken against Rochdale, says Jimmy Marsh. Hey, mate, there's no doubt in his last couple of games for United, he's looked way off. I'm not going to pretend that. But I remember I got quite mad about it. I was like, looking on social media and people were going in on Chong, and I was like, look, if you want to go in on Matic and you want to go in Young and you want to go in on Pogba and you want to go in on Lingard, these are all players that are over 26. This is basically a lad starting his career out, and we are slating him on social media. And I know that's the world we live in now, and people are very loose in the way that they hand out criticism. You know, I do it myself. But I think when it's a young player, it's very unfair. And I'll put my hands up and I'll say I probably did it a little bit with McTominay, if I'm honest. But I think the level of abuse that Chong got might be why he's looking to go. But I thought it was out of order. I think with a young player, you've got to give them a little bit longer. And Ollie, you know, I'll put my hands up on this. Ollie obviously doesn't think he's ready or good enough at the moment, but he should have gone on loan. I think Gomez should have gone on loan. I said it in the summer. They should have gone in loan because actually, I said they should. And welcome to the United Stand Members Club, Ibrahima John. You can join by clicking the join button. But I said this in the summer. Ollie was speaking about playing Greenwood and Gomez and Chong a lot. Well, we're not far off Christmas now. Greenwood's played a lot. But how much has Gomez and Chong played? And I know Gomez is injured at the moment, but even when he wasn't injured, how much has he actually played? If they'd gone on loan in the Championship, they'd be playing week in, week out. And that's far better for them than just training with the first team and playing for the under-23. So I think we should have loaned him out. How long is Scotty out for, says Chrissy Riley. A little bit of a recap then. The latest on Scott McTominay is that he'll be out for 4 weeks, but they're going to wait 72 hours for his swelling to go down and then have another scan, which may confirm it'll be 4 weeks or may drop down. But if it is 4 weeks, he'll miss Villa, Sheffield United, Villa, Spurs and Manchester City. Which just reminds me, actually, this is our next... forget the Europa League, we're through. And Colchester in the quarterfinals, we're going to win. So, you know, those games are games to play. We've got 3 games that are slightly irrelevant. 2 Europa League games and a Colchester game, which hopefully we'll see some youth played. Maybe we'll see Chong in those games, actually. But in relation to the Premier League, between now and pretty much Christmas, our next 5 games run like this. Sheffield United away. Aston Villa at home. Manchester City away. No, sorry. Sheffield United away, Aston Villa at home, Tottenham at home, Manchester City away, Everton at home. 3 home games, 2 away games. How many points do you think you're going to get? I said today, minimum of 12. Beat Sheffield United, beat Aston Villa, beat Spurs, get smashed by Man City, let's be honest, and then beat Everton. I think 12 points from the next 15. And who knows, maybe we might get something out of Man City, but I don't think we will. I mean, look, I'm sure a lot of you watched Man City play Liverpool at the weekend, and you know, very good win for Liverpool, unfortunately for us, but Man City were brilliant in that game, and the amount of chances they created against the good Liverpool defence. I don't think it matters who Man City play, they're going to create chances against us. Simon Cliff says, Mark, do you remember when Rashford got his chance under LVG? Chong needs a run of games to see if he's good. Ollie is doing the same with Fred. Yep, hopefully there's still... I mean, look, the thing about with Chong, maybe he's not going to sign a new contract at Manchester United, but I don't think he can sign a new contract with anybody till January anyway. And as I've just said, we've got 2 Europa League games. We're through the group and Colchester. We've got 3 games where maybe Chong can force his way into the starting team. So, you know, if United want to keep him, give him some time. Most teams will be bed in the main squad in 1 to 2 kids per season. This year, Williams and Greenwood. I'm guessing next season, Garner and maybe one other Max, says Humi. And will Hendo play against us versus Sheffield United, says White Soda. No, he won't. So he's on loan, Dean Henderson. He can't play against his parent club. That is official. He cannot play in that game. I mean, that's an interesting point as well, isn't it? With the debate about Brandon Williams and Luke Shaw. And again, I'm going to be in the minority on this. If Luke Shaw's fit, I'd play Luke Shaw. Because the reason is, I actually still think Luke Shaw's a better player. And I can hear people go, no, you're wrong. But I've got to be honest, I think people who are saying that Brandon Williams is better than Luke Shaw are fortune tellers. I mean, he's a good player. But it's obvious to me that Brandon Williams has got a lot to learn still, because that's what young players have. Greenwood's got a lot to learn. Ryan Giggs had a lot to learn. Wayne Rooney had a lot to learn. And I think that Brandon Williams, as a left back, is he ready to go and play 50 games in a season? No, he's not. Luke Shaw is potentially injury prone anyway, so I would still have Luke Shaw as the first choice left back when he comes back, and I would share the load with Brandon Williams. That's what I would do. I think Luke Shaw's so injury prone that maybe you play Luke Shaw for the weekend games and Brandon Williams for the Europa League and the midweek games, or the other way around. But I would still be going with Luke Shaw, because I think what we can't do is burn somebody out like Brandon Williams out or knock their confidence. He's going to have games where he comes up against a winger, and it might not be a Mo Salah, it could be a Wilfried Zaha, it could be a Nathan Redmond, and he'll get turned inside and out, because he's not going to be coming into the team as a teenager and flawless forever. He's going to make mistakes. So I think having Luke Shaw alongside him for this first year is a good idea. And then in a year's time, maybe Brandon Williams is the first choice left back. But that's how I would do it, based on my experience of watching football over the last 30 years and teenagers coming through. I don't think chucking Brandon Williams in, like everyone's like, yeah, sack Shaw, sack Young and play Brandon Williams. I know why they're saying it. I can jump on that bandwagon as well, but it's a fantasy one. You can't just chuck teenagers into a left back spot. He's had a handful of good games for United, and he is going to be a future star for United. But I would protect that star and wrap him up in cotton wool, like we're doing with Greenwood a little bit. So yeah, I wouldn't be going that far. What I would do is I'd wrap Ashley Young up in a nice warm coat and send him on a Scandinavian cruise and tell him not to come back. I'd definitely do that. But Shaw and Williams for me are the ones to deal with that left back spot. Caitlin Reid, evening Caitlin, says, my United family, please keep in your thoughts a beloved lifelong United supporter and United stand fan, Ben, who passed away 1 month ago. Well, Caitlin, that's the first I've heard about it. So yeah, obviously very, very, very sad news to hear about Ben. And our thoughts are with you if he's a family member or a friend, and with Ben and his family and friends as well. So sad to hear about that. Which reminds me, actually, and I don't know what happened with Ben, but I am doing an all-day stream on Saturday on That's Football, raising money for cancer. I did it 2 years ago on this channel, and I did 24 hours, and we raised about £9,000 all in. So I'm going to try and beat that, because I'm going to set it as a challenge on That's Football. Some of you might be subscribed to it, some of you might not. I'll remind you later in the week, but it's going to be an all-day stream. It's not going to be 24 hours, because 24 hours is just an endurance test, and I actually want to put some good content out. So it's going to be playing a bit of FIFA, doing some Q&As, doing a live going for Goldbridge. Everything I've done across all my channels this year, I'm going to compact into an all-day stream, and it'll be probably from about 10 o'clock in the morning till midnight. So a good 14 hours, and we're going to try and raise a lot of money for cancer. So make sure you join us for that on Saturday, even if it's just for 10 minutes here and there. So the 8 o'clock show on Saturday will actually be on That's Football. It's going to be like one long change of shows. Also, I wanted to talk to you about this. I've left this a little bit late, but I'm a little bit cross with myself about this. So we're talking about Martial a little bit earlier, weren't we? And I just wanted to say that Smut Beer says, good call on your clothing tonight. I haven't worn this in a long time, actually. I've not worn this top in a long time, because I've sort of had this mentality that I don't really wear United clothing that much because I can't stand the Glazers. However, I've bought this stuff already, so my retro stuff, there's no reason for me not to wear it. Like, I've got my gold jumper that I wear sometimes, and I like this top, so I thought I'd just wear it. But this, I love this, because I wanted to say, I think Anthony Martial, who agrees with me on this? I think Anthony Martial this season has been incredible, and I've been very consistent in this. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer deserves a lot of credit with Anthony Martial himself in the total and utter real change in his game. Anthony Martial is a player that has always been my favourite at United over the last 2 or 3 years. He excites me, he gets me on the edge of the seat. I think he's just he's why I watch football. I love players who take people on. I love clinical players. So Martial's my favourite player at United. And I'm going to list off the things that he's had to put up with in a minute under Mourinho, and they'll shock you. But the reality is, let's look at what he's become this season. Last year, he was an inconsistent left winger, suffering from uncertainty about a new contract, a manager that didn't like him under Mourinho, and struggling for form. But we knew on his day on the left wing he's a very good player, but he was inconsistent. What has he become this season? He's become the number 9. I mean, we always said with Martial, remember Thierry Henry when he first went on to Arsenal, he started on the wing and then he went up front and became one of the best Premier League strikers. We've always said it with a little bit of, I hope it goes this way, but it might not. With Martial, He's a brilliant winger. He wants to play up front. And I must admit, there was a part of me with Martial that was like, I know he wants to play up front, but he can stay on the wing because I don't think he's good up front with his back to goal. I think he's like Rashford. You know, he's better when he's running at goal, running at people. With his back to goal, Rashford's awful. And I thought Martial wasn't that good. But this season, we've seen something with Martial that we haven't really seen in the previous years he's been here. His hold-up play, his selflessness, the way at the weekend he was never even looked at goal. He provided 2 assists when he could have shot himself. The runs he makes to create space for others, the work rate, the hold-up play, as I say, he's been absolutely superb. And I think he's taken a lot from that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and a lot of it from himself. And he's surprised the haters because there are United fans in our fan base. You know they're there. There are United fans who like players that you like, but there are United fans who don't like players. And I think there is a percentage of United fans who don't like Martial and quite enjoyed calling him lazy and this, that and the other. And it was Martial FC who sort of defended him. But he's been brilliant this season, Anthony Martial. I got sent this by at trav.j. who is somebody on Twitter who I interact with, and he just sent me some good stuff. So thank you to you, J. And he said that he sent me this tweet from at ng___, and it says Martial under Mourinho, and it really brings home not only how badly Martial was treated by Mourinho, but also how close we came to losing him. And there's a list here. Number shirt got taken away from him for no reason. Martial had been brilliant that year under Van Gaal, wasn't he? He was our number 9 under Van Gaal, and he was brilliant. His debut season, he was absolutely brilliant for United. Mourinho came in, and without even speaking to Martial, without even knowing anything about Martial, he stripped him of the number 9 shirt when he was our best player and gave it to Ibrahimovic. Bad treatment of Martial, I think we can agree on that. Slated in interviews, even though he was only 20 years old, yes. I mean, Mourinho did do it to others, but he did do it about Martial. He slated him. He allowed the rumours to go out about him being lazy and having a bad attitude. And we know Mourinho did that. He got dropped after good performances. We saw that. Almost used in swap deals for Perisic and Willian. We know that. Willian of Chelsea and Perisic. Martial was being offered up for those deals, and it was United. It was Manchester United and the Glazers or Woodward who stopped that. And to be fair, you know, it's like with any villain, isn't it? They do some good sometimes. And the club did stop Mourinho from using Martial in those deals. And he was replaced by Alexis Sanchez after a 20-goal stroke assist half season and 3 Player of the Month awards. And that one always sticks in my teeth as well. Anthony Martial, I think the 3 games before we signed Alexis Sanchez, he scored in the 3 games. He had 20 goals stroke assists, so combined goals and assists was 20. He'd had 3 Player of the Month awards. And Mourinho went and bought Sanchez and dropped him. So, you know, when you look at Martial and his career at United, an amazing season under Van Gaal when we bought him, and then a horrible time under Mourinho. And now we've got our Martial back. I think we're getting the Martial back we had under Van Gaal. This amazing talent. And I think the years in between have been destroyed by Mourinho and a lack of confidence. I think he's a fantastic player. And I think we're seeing that player we had in that first season under Van Gaal now. And when you list off all the things that Mourinho did do to him, you know, I like listening to Mourinho on Sky. I'll put my hands up. I liked Mourinho. I didn't like him as United manager, and I didn't like what he did to Martial. Will we see Rashi at number 10 now that Scotty is out? James on the left, Mason on the right, Tony up top, Fred, Garner and Pereira in midfield, says Joe and Daniel. I mean, I wouldn't change too much. Sheffield United is going to be a tough game with no McTominay and no Pogba. I think the midfield's our weak area anyway. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? But it is a blow with McTominay. But Ed is Woodward is part of Martial FC, says RTL. Well, that's one thing he's got right. Martial's the top boy at United, says Gaz Moore. But it is interesting. It is interesting when you list off all those things that Mourinho did to Martial. And I'm not doing it to make Mourinho a villain. I'm more doing it to sort of explain what Martial was before Mourinho came here. He was a stunning player. That first year, he was amazing. He scored loads of goals. He was our number 9. The first thing Mourinho did was strip him of the number 9 shirt for no reason. Constantly slated him, constantly dropped him. He was playing absolutely superb, and he went and bought Sanchez and dropped him. You know, he didn't go to the World Cup. He's not a World Cup winner because of Mourinho. So, and now Mourinho's gone, and he's in a new season. He's back to being brilliant again. So I think Mourinho had a big part to play in Martial's stunted development at United. Always saw Tony as a Berbatov type-ish forward, but with pace, looks way better in his natural position. It's Don Ireland, thanks for the contribution. But he's been amazing this season, Martial. He's my player of the year. And that's a big call when he's not really... I don't think he's even played half our games. But he makes such a difference. Like, Martial makes Rashford a better player. He makes Dan James a better player. He makes Fred a better player because Fred has a synergy with Martial. We saw it on Sunday. Fred is playing these balls into Martial and Martial's getting them. He wasn't doing that with Rashford. And we know Rashford makes runs, but I don't think Rashford's an intelligent number 9. Rashford's a spontaneous footballer. Rashford gets the ball and you never know what he's going to do. And that's dangerous to the opposition, but it's sometimes dangerous to us. Martial, I think when we get Pogba back as well, imagine Pogba and Fred feeding Martial. I think we're going to get better. I think if the only thing that worries me about Martial is I think he's injury prone, and that's sad because he's my favourite player. But I do think he's injury prone, and I think if we lose Martial again this season, we will drop off again. I think he's so important. If he stays fit between now and the end of the season, I think we'll have a good season. I think he's that important because he's one of those rare players that not only does his performance make a difference to the team, he makes players better around him. And I can't speak highly enough of him. I think he's been fantastic. Jose does not nurture talent or give players confidence. He wants ready-made players. That inter-team he created was ready-made, 27 to 32 years old, Sasimi. Yeah, you know what? And in defence of Mourinho, that wasn't my point tonight, was not to have a go at Mourinho. It was just to, identify why it's not a surprise Martial is doing well now. But I would love Arsenal to get Mourinho. I think it's exactly what their flip-flop fans deserve. And I know lots of nice Arsenal fans, by the way, and there might be some watching here. Some of you are absolutely fine, but you've got a lot of flip-flops. And these Arsenal fans saying sack Emery and get Mourinho in, please let it happen. Even I would subscribe to Arsenal Fan TV for that. I would watch it religiously. I would love it because he would come in and they'd all be like, we've got one of the best managers in the world. Ignore the fact that he's been sacked by Chelsea and, we've got a brilliant manager. He's going to get us playing great football. And I would give it about 2 days, 2 games, and they'll turn on him quicker than they've turned on any manager. He is done in the Premier League. I think he's done at top level football. And like Humi says, he is a short-term manager. He goes in, he wins things in the first couple of years. Normally a title. Couldn't do that for us, but he did win into the Europa League and the Carabao Cup. But everything he does is short-term. His signings are short-term. Everything he does is short-term. And I think he'd make a right mess of Arsenal. And I would love to watch it. 50 million down the drain to Safon. And also, I just want to say as well, at United Arena sent me this on Twitter, at UTD Arena, that chances created in the Premier League this season, United are 4th, which is quite funny, isn't it? And it got me thinking because United's defence, we know United's defence is good, but 4th in chances created. I didn't think we created many chances. I was quite surprised by that. So I was really surprised by that stat that we're 4th in the Premier League for chances created. I thought, we don't generally create many chances. So that's quite encouraging. Now we've got Martial back. Mourinho will work for Arsenal, says Bab Academy. Right, Bob, can I just tell you now, if you are an Arsenal fan, he won't go to Arsenal. Do you want to know why he won't go to Arsenal? 1, you cannot afford his wages. You can't. 2, you haven't got a spare 200 million anyway. Mourinho's not stupid. He's already turned jobs down. He is not going to Arsenal with the squad that you've got and making an Asda version mistake of United. At least United are a massive club. At least United have got massive money. He went to United and it was a big mistake and he knows it. He ain't going to go to the Asda version at Arsenal who've got less money, a worse squad, and a squad that's riddled with jelly baby-itis, i.e. they've got no spine, and a fan base that is flip-flop. He ain't going to do it. You can't afford him anyway. But you know what? I'd do a GoFundMe. I think it would be hilarious. Illa United, who you call him flip-flop? Just wondering, says the Batman channel. I don't know. I didn't see it. And I like to think of all the Arsenal players Mourinho will instantly get rid of. Lacazette, Bellerin, every short player, Torreira. And Uyandu and Love says, Mark, we need Milinkovic, Savic and Bruno Fernandes. Well, look, I was not going to mention Bruno Fernandes tonight. Please do smash a like on the video tonight, everybody. I really enjoy the 8 o'clock shows during the international break because it gives us a little bit of we can just be so fluid and go from comment to comment and go into different areas like that Martial chat. I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, make sure you subscribe and smash a like on the video if you are enjoying it as well. But I've not said anything really on Bruno Fernandes in relation to United's interest in him for quite a while. But I do see it popping up on social media. And I saw it the other day. Somebody was like, we were never in for United. The only reason people thought we were in for United is because of the Portuguese press and Mark Goldbridge. And I was like... I felt quite happy about it, really. I was like, oh, it's another one of these haters. Try and drag me down, but you won't because you're too heavy with your own poison. But they're not... Look, I know... And credible... remember, Simon Peach is a very, very credible journalist. And he was interviewed talking to Flex on the tour in the summer on the United stand. What did Simon Peach say? United admire Bruno Fernandes. They like Bruno Fernandes, but I wouldn't say it's anything more than 50% at the moment, and that was in July. Manchester United can deny all they like, and Manchester United fed that story that basically, they didn't name the name, but they said agents users, the press users, for players that we're not in for, right? So Manchester United let Fellaini go, they let Herrera go, right? And their sole target in the summer was Sean Longstaff. Right, okay, that's absolutely fine. If you want to believe that, that's fine. The reality is, I'd love to get Ed Woodward right here, right now, on a lie detector test and say, were you not in for Bruno Fernandes? And when he says no, it'll be flicking around that he's lying. Manchester United scouted Bruno Fernandes all of last season, didn't they, Ed? No, and it'll be flicking around. United were in for Bruno Fernandes. What happened is, they did back off from the deal. Going into the summer, Manchester United, and all of last season scouted him. Going into the summer, Manchester United and Bruno Fernandes was a deal there to be done, and it was a deal United were very, very interested in. Over the summer, for whatever reason, it closed down. And the reason I stuck with it is because I stuck with what had been told during the season, that United were all over Bruno Fernandes in relation to scouting him, and it was an obvious signing to go and do it, and he wanted to come to the Premier League. But why they backed out, the only story I know is the story you know, that when push came to shove, United didn't want to risk another foreign expensive flop, and there was concerns about the risks he takes as a player. But he's got loads of goals and he's got loads of assists, and we can't become Brexit FC because your recruitment in the past has been bad. So there we go. But with regards to Bruno Fernandes, where I think he'll end up, I think he'll go to Spurs. I think he'll go to Spurs, and I think he'll be a brilliant player. And I'll say this right now, I would still love Manchester United to sign Bruno Fernandes, but I don't expect us to do it. But I will say this about Bruno Fernandes, he will come to the Premier League, and he will be another Fabinho. He'll be another player that Manchester United fans have been going on about for a long time, that would be perfect for our club, that is actually still available at the moment, that we won't get. He'll go to a rival, and he'll be brilliant, and we'll all be going, it's another bloody Fabinho. It's another player that we've spoken about for ages, and what a great player he'd be for United that we've absolutely ignored. And what's the obsession with Sean Longstaff? Can somebody please tell me what that's all about? It just looks like a massive mistake, but there you go. But look, it's all about opinion, and some people will say we weren't in for him, but all you're doing by doing that is believing Woodward, is believing the propaganda out of Manchester United. I know United scouted Bruno Fernandes. I know United were interested in Bruno Fernandes. I was convinced we were going to sign Bruno Fernandes, and I don't know why we didn't. And it might just be as simple as we backed out because we didn't want to pay the money for somebody who might flop. But to me, that betrays the problem at Manchester United. There is an inherent issue in United for the last 6 years in relation to our scouting and football knowledge, because we're turning our back on players that would quite clearly improve us because we don't think they're going to improve us. And Fabinho was one. Why were we never in for Fabinho? Even Fabinho himself says they were never in for me. His agent is George Mendes, and Mourinho was our manager for 2.5 years, and we never went for Fabinho. It's crazy. And it just shows the lack of footballing knowledge in the club at United. It's poor. Our scouting is poor. And people will say, well, Dan James is a good signing. Yeah, he is. Thanks, Ryan Giggs, who also helped us get Martial. And as I've said before, Wan-Bissaka and Maguire are great signings, but you know what? My daughter, she's only 10. If I'd said to her in the summer, what centre-back should we sign? She'd say Harry Maguire. What right-back should be signed? Wan-Bissaka. They're obvious signings. They're good signings, but it's not good footballing knowledge. Everybody knows that those two would be good signings for United. And yeah, they could end up being flops. Of course they could. But I want to see United going out signing players that are like, more Dan James signings. I want to see more of those. But from the continent, that will make me confident. I was going to say, from the continent, that'll make me incompetent. I'll be pissed at myself. Mark, if Bruno goes to rubbish Spurs, he will go downhill, to say Massey, but he might be the player that makes them better. But it wouldn't surprise me if Bruno Fernandes went to Man City or Liverpool. I just don't think he'll go to United. I think we've messed that up. I think that ship's sunk, actually. Woodward and the Glazers are the problem, says Ray Cowley. Right, thanks everyone. I really enjoyed the show tonight. Please do smash a like on the video. One of the best shows we've done in a while. I've really enjoyed it. Really relaxed, flipping through the comments, flipping through the topics. Really enjoyed the show tonight. And I think that's what the international break's for, isn't it? I think when the games are coming thick and fast, it gets a bit tense, gets a bit toxic because we've all got our opinions. And the reality is at the moment, I think we can sort of kick back and go through some stuff. There's a new show starting tomorrow on the United Stand, actually. We're going to start it tomorrow. It's going to be the Transfer Weekly, because when January comes, we do Transfer Daily. But as we move towards the January transfer window, we're going to start doing a Transfer Weekly. So that'll be on a Wednesday. So that's going up tomorrow. So make sure you got your notifications on and you are subscribed. Smash a like on the video. And thanks everyone for watching. Fantastic community as ever. I must just say as well, we put a video out this morning that many of you won't have watched. It's the video where Xander was interviewing Carrick and Mike Phelan at the Busby premiere. I think it's only had 30,000 views, so I know a lot of you haven't watched it yet. Go and give it a watch. People are saying, can you stream a little bit longer? Instead of me streaming for 12 minutes till 9 o'clock, go and watch the 12-minute video that Xander did on the homepage, interviewing Michael Carrick on the United Stand and Mike Phelan, asking them about the future at Manchester United. Some very, very interesting answers. Good times ahead, apparently, according to one of them. Go and give it a watch. Thanks for watching.